Disclaimer. This story explores mature emotional themes but contains no explicit content. Viewer discretion is advised. I never thought much about her, not in that way. She was just my best friend's mum, someone I'd known for years. A familiar face at school events, backyard barbecues, and casual small talk. To me, she was always off limits, until the day everything changed. It started with a favour. My friend had to leave town for a few weeks, and he asked me to check in on his mum. Nothing unusual, just small things, making sure she was okay, running errands if she needed help. I agreed without hesitation. She was kind, warm, and independent. It wasn't a burden, but the first evening I stopped by, something was different. She greeted me at the door with a smile that felt softer, more personal. The way she looked at me lingered just a second longer than usual, her eyes holding something I couldn't quite place. We sat in the kitchen, talking over a glass of wine. The air between us shifted, slowly at first, then unmistakably. The conversation drifted away from casual updates to something deeper. She told me about dreams she had put aside, about loneliness, about how despite the years that had passed, she still longed to feel truly seen. I listened. I really listened. And when our hands brushed against each other on the table, neither of us moved away. I should have left. I should have ignored the racing in my chest, the unspoken questions hanging in the air. But then she whispered my name in a way that sent shivers down my spine. And in that moment, I knew. This was no longer just a friendly visit. She wasn't just my friend's mum anymore. That thought unnerved me as much as it intrigued me. I tried to ignore it, but the warmth of her gaze, the way she laughed at my stories, it all felt different now. I had known Claire for years. She was in her early 40s, effortlessly elegant, with an energy that made people gravitate toward her. A widow for nearly 5 years, she had always carried herself with quiet strength. I had admired her resilience, but I had never seen her the way I did that night. She leaned against the counter, absent-mindedly swirling the last sip of wine in her glass. "It's strange having the house this quiet," she admitted, her voice softer than usual. "I didn't think I'd miss the noise so much." I understood what she meant. The silence had a weight to it, pressing in on both of us. I wasn't sure if it was the dim lighting, the way the night wrapped around the house, or the fact that we were alone. But something between us had shifted. I could have left, I should have. But instead I found myself saying, "You're not really alone." She looked at me then, truly looked at me, and something passed between us. An unspoken recognition, a shared loneliness neither of us had ever acknowledged before. "I know," she said, barely above a whisper. And in that moment, I realized, maybe we weren't just filling the silence, maybe we were meant to find each other in it. Claire set her glass down, her fingers lingering on the rim. I could see the conflict in her eyes, something unspoken, something she wasn't sure she had the right to feel. "I shouldn't be keeping you here," she murmured, her voice carrying the weight of an unspoken warning. "You probably have better things to do on a Friday night." But I didn't, and even if I did, I wouldn't have left. "You don't have to do that," I said, stepping closer. "Pretend you don't enjoy the company." She let out a soft laugh, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "That's the problem," she admitted. The air between us thickened. It wasn't just attraction, it was something deeper, something we both knew carried risks. She was my best friend's mother, someone I should respect from a distance, but after tonight, distance felt impossible. "I don't want to ruin anything," she whispered, almost to herself. "What if you don't?" I asked, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. She looked up at me then, her expression unreadable. For the first time, I saw something fragile beneath her strength. Fear. Not of me, but of what this could mean. Before either of us could say another word, the sharp buzz of her phone broke the moment. She tensed, glancing at the screen. I caught the name before she flipped it over. Her son. My best friend. A silent decision passed between us. The night wasn't over, but whatever this was, it had just become complicated. Claire hesitated, her fingers tightening around her phone. The name flashing on the screen felt like a warning, a reminder of the line we were dangerously close to crossing. She took a shaky breath and silenced the call, setting the phone face down on the counter. I should have felt relieved, but instead my pulse quickened. "You didn't answer," I said softly, watching her closely. She exhaled, rubbing her temple. "Because I don't know what I'd say." Her honesty sent a shiver through me. The tension between us had reached a breaking point, and we both knew it. Walking away now would be the safer choice, the easier choice. But neither of us moved. "I should go," I finally said, though my feet remained planted. Claire stepped forward, just enough that I could feel the warmth of her presence. "Do you want to?" I swallowed hard. That question carried weight, more than attraction, more than curiosity. It was about choice, our choice. "I don't know anymore," I admitted. She searched my face, her own torn between caution and something deeper. "This is reckless," she whispered. "I know." Silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken desires and consequences we couldn't ignore. Then, without thinking, without planning, Claire reached for my hand. Just a touch, but it sent electricity through me, and suddenly everything felt inevitable. Before I could say a word, a loud knock echoed from the front door. We both froze. Neither of us was expecting anyone. Her eyes met mine, wide with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Whoever was on the other side of that door, they were about to change everything. The knock came again, louder this time. Claire's grip on my hand tightened for just a second before she let go, stepping back as if reality had suddenly slammed into her. My heart pounded as I turned toward the door. "Are you expecting someone?" I asked, my voice low. She shook her head, her face pale. "No." Whoever it was, they weren't going away. I hesitated, then moved toward the entrance. Claire followed, staying just behind me. As I reached for the handle, a voice rang out from the other side, one that made my blood run cold. "Mom, open up." It was him, my best friend. Claire's breath hitched, her hand flying to her mouth. Panic flickered in her eyes. "He wasn't supposed to be back yet," she whispered. Neither of us moved. We were standing at the edge of something dangerous, something we couldn't take back. If he saw me here, now, what would he think? Another knock, this time more impatient. I forced myself to stay calm. "What do you want to do?" Claire swallowed hard. "I don't know," she admitted. But then her gaze lifted to mine, and for the first time I saw something else behind the panic: resolve. She reached for the doorknob, and just like that, the moment we had been teetering on shattered. The door swung open, revealing my best friend, his expression unreadable as he took in the scene. His eyes darted between Claire and me, the silence stretching unbearably. Then, finally, his jaw tightened. "What the hell is going on here?" And just like that, our secret was no longer ours alone. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. My best friend's gaze bounced between us, his face a storm of suspicion, anger, and something else: betrayal. Claire stood firm, though I could see the rapid rise and fall of her chest. "It's not what you think," she said, her voice steady but careful. He let out a bitter laugh. "Really? Because it looks exactly like what I think." His hands clenched at his sides. "You're my best friend. She's my mother." I swallowed hard, knowing there was no easy way out of this. "I didn't plan for this to happen," I admitted. But it did. His jaw tightened. "So what? You just forgot who she is?" His voice cracked on the last word. Claire finally stepped forward. "You don't understand." "No," he snapped, stepping back. "I don't, and I don't want to." The weight of his words hung in the air. I had never seen him like this, his trust in me shattered, his entire world shaken. Claire's expression softened. "You've always wanted me to be happy," she said carefully. What if this makes me happy? He looked at her then, really looked at her. The anger in his eyes wavered, flickering into something else. Uncertainty, pain, maybe even understanding. He took a shaky breath, running a hand through his hair. I need time. Claire nodded. Take all the time you need. He exhaled sharply, stepping past me, past her, into the house. He didn't slam the door, didn't yell, just disappeared down the hall, leaving us standing in the wreckage of what we'd just destroyed, or maybe what we'd just begun. Days passed, then weeks. My best friend avoided me at first, shutting me out completely. I understood. I had broken an unspoken rule, crossed a line neither of us had ever imagined. But Claire and I didn't pretend. We didn't run from what had happened. Instead, we let time do what it does best, give space for understanding. One evening, I got a text. Meet me. It was him. I found him sitting on a bench at the park where we used to hang out as kids. He didn't look angry anymore, just tired. I'm still mad, he admitted, but I've been thinking. I stayed quiet, letting him speak. You make her happy, he finally said, and I know she hasn't been happy in a long time. He sighed. I just wish it wasn't you. I laughed softly, relieved to see even a sliver of his old self coming through. I didn't expect it either. He looked at me then, searching my face. You're serious about this? Yes, I said without hesitation. I love her. His jaw tightened, but then he nodded, as if accepting something he couldn't change. Then don't screw it up. Claire and I didn't need anyone's permission, but knowing he was willing to try, to understand, made everything feel real. We weren't some fleeting mistake, we were meant to find each other. Life doesn't always follow the rules we expect. Love doesn't ask for approval. Sometimes happiness comes from the most unexpected places. And when it does, you have to be brave enough to hold on to it.